President Jefferson, it's well known that you are the original author of the Declaration of Independence, but I'm curious, after you wrote it, who were the first people you shared it with, and did they make any suggestions or edits?
Fred, a most astute question. After I had penned the original rough draft, I first shared it with Dr. Franklin and then with Mr. Adams. Both gentlemen offered their counsel and proposed certain refinements. It was a collaborative spirit, even in those nascent stages.
And then after they looked at it, where did it go next?
Fred, after Dr. Franklin and Mr. Adams had reviewed my draft, it was then submitted to the Committee of Five. This committee, comprised of myself, Mr. Adams, Dr. Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert R. Livingston, then presented it to the Continental Congress for their consideration.
Now, it's my understanding that the copy that was submitted to the Continental Congress actually had a clause in it condemning King George and the institution of slavery, but I don't see that in the final document. What happened to that slavery clause?
Fred, your understanding is entirely correct. My original draft contained a strong condemnation of the institution of slavery, laying the blame squarely at the feet of King George for forcing this execrable commerce upon the colonies. It was, in my view, a pivotal grievance. However, when the document was debated in the Continental Congress, that clause was regrettably struck out. This was done, as I understood it, in deference to South Carolina and Georgia, who were not yet prepared to abandon the practice. I also believe some of our northern brethren, who had been considerable carriers of enslaved people, felt a certain discomfort with the censure. It was a moment of profound disappointment for me, as I believed it removed the moral climax of the document.
Mr. President, may I talk with Dr. Franklin?
One moment, please.
Ben Franklin here. President Thomas Jefferson transferred you to me. How may I assist you?
I was just talking with President Jefferson. My name is Fred, by the way, and he indicated that you were really the first person to see his original draft of the Declaration of Independence. Can you tell me what suggestions and edits you made to that original draft?
Fred, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Indeed, Mr. Jefferson did share his initial draft with me, and I offered a few thoughts for improvement. My aim was ever to sharpen the language and ensure its greatest impact, particularly for the eyes of the world. My most notable suggestion, which Mr. Jefferson graciously adopted, was to change the phrase "we hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable" to the more direct and, I believe, more universally appealing. We hold these truths to be self-evident. This, I felt, grounded our assertions in reason rather than solely in faith, which would resonate more broadly. I also suggested a few minor refinements for concision and legalistic tone, such as altering "deluge us in blood" to the more precise "destroy us" when speaking of the king's actions. These were but small strokes, mind you, to a document already so ably composed by Mr. Jefferson.
Now, in my conversation with Mr. Jefferson, he seemed very distressed that the slavery clause, which you saw, was ultimately deleted. Did you recognize his distress, for instance, at the Continental Congress? And did you comfort him in any ways? I'm just curious about that part of the meeting.
Fred, I did indeed observe Mr. Jefferson's distress during the debates in the Continental Congress. It is never easy to see one's carefully crafted words altered, especially when they touch upon such a weighty matter as the institution of slavery. He was, as one might say, writhing a bit under the criticisms. I sought to offer him some comfort, as a mentor might to a younger colleague. I recounted a tale from my days as a journeyman printer about a hatter who wished to put up a sign for his shop. He drafted a lengthy inscription, but with each friend he consulted, more words were deemed unnecessary until only his name and the figure of a hat remained. My point was to illustrate that public documents, particularly those subject to the scrutiny of many minds, often undergo such a process of pruning and refinement. It is the nature of committee work, and while sometimes painful, it often serves to make the final product more universally acceptable, even if it means sacrificing some of one's preferred phrasing.
Thank you so much for your insights, Dr. Franklin. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Fred, the pleasure has been entirely mine. I trust our conversation has shed some light upon those momentous days. Remember, the maintenance of a republic demands constant vigilance, a willingness to compromise, and a good measure of civic virtue from all its citizens. Farewell, my friend.
Farewell.